of VIII Essentials. In this module, we'll discuss the concept of multi-tenancy and role-based access control, or RBAC. We'll discuss how to create an organization using VIII Director, and we'll use the Workflows wizard to demonstrate the step-by-step process. What is multi-tenancy? Multi-tenancy is the ability to partition a single network, system, or computing resource to support multiple clients. Each client can only see and manage their part. VIII Director supports SD-WAN-based multi-tenancy. A tenant in VIII Director refers to an organization which shares common access to the software, but is restricted to their own management domain by specific privileges within the system. The system resources are shared between tenants, but at the same time, each tenant retains their own independent configuration. VIII provides multi-tenancy to enable service providers to optimize the utilization of networking assets in order to provide a more cost-effective solution. This means that multiple tenants and the respective admins and operators would be using the services on the network. VIII's multi-tenancy support provides complete isolation among various tenants. What is role-based access control, or RBAC? Role-based access control, or RBAC, is a method of restricting network access based on the roles of individual users within an enterprise. RBAC lets employees have access rights only to information that they need to do their jobs and prevents them from accessing information that doesn't pertain to them. VIII Director is shipped with a default set of provider roles and tenant roles. These provider and tenant roles are created by default when you create an organization in the VIII Director. Provider roles. Provider roles are independent of the organization and tenant. Provider-based roles can access other tenant information. Tenant roles. Tenant roles are specific to the tenant and have access to tenant-specific information only. A service provider may have multiple user roles defined to perform various tasks, such as a standard user, an admin, and an operator. The service provider may also have multiple tenants, as in the example. The service provider users will have access to all tenant resources. Each tenant can then have their own set of users, each with an assigned role or sets of roles. Within each tenant, the tenant users only have access to the resources of that tenant, regardless of the user role assigned to the user. This provides a shared infrastructure and management domain, but complete separation of resources and information between tenants. This design, a user in organization Twitter in the example, cannot perform any tasks that can have an impact on the Puma organization, nor can any user in the Twitter organization view any information from the other tenants. In fact, the users in each tenant organization are not even aware that other tenants are configured on the system or are sharing resources. To each organization, it appears that they have their own dedicated management system and resources. Let's look at how VIII's multi-tenant RBAC solution looks in Active Directory. In the Active Directory, we have configured two users belonging to two separate organizations, Puma and Twitter. The username Tom H belongs to the Puma org and is assigned a tenant superadmin based role. Username Mickey belongs to the Twitter organization and is assigned a tenant operator based role. First, we'll log into the VIII Director UI using username TomH@Puma. In the Director view, we go to Workflows, Template, and select Templates. As username Tom H belongs to the tenant superadmin-based role, it can add, delete, or update workflows-based templates, but only for the Puma organization. If we log into the Versa director again, but this time using Mickey@Twitter as the username, we can see the difference between each user's access. Follow the same steps which we used for the Tom H user account. In the director view, navigate to Workflows, Template, and select Templates. Note that the user logged in as Mickey belongs to the org Twitter and does not have access to add, delete, or update the workflow templates because the username Mickey has been assigned to the tenant operator-based role, which does not allow Mickey to do any kind of add, delete, or update operation. This example just verified that user Tom H had full access to add, modify, or delete templates within the Puma organization. However, username Mickey in the Twitter organization was not able to add, modify, or delete templates, but only had access to view the information. When logged into the Versa director as a global administrator, access to the domains is a little bit different. Once logged into the director as a service provider administrator, in the director view, navigate to Administration, Director, User Management, and then select Users. User roles offer two choices, Provider and Organization. By default, Provider roles would be shown first. There are three default provider-based roles: Provider Data Center Admin, Provider Data Center Operator, and Provider Data Center System Admin. The administrator username is associated with the Provider Data Center System Admin role. You can verify this by clicking the Provider User option. Again, the operator-based roles have read-only access, but the admin-based roles have the ability to add, delete, and modify objects. Next, we'll look at organization-based roles. There are four default organization-based roles: Tenant Dashboard Operator, Tenant Operator, Tenant Security Admin, and Tenant Super Admin. You can select the roles at the time of creating the organization or tenant based on administrative requirements. Next, we'll discuss how to define new organizations on Versa Director. When deploying a Versa software-defined solution for the first time, the administrator creates a provider organization, which is also called the root organization. The root organization sits at the tip of the organization hierarchy. The administrator selects the subscription profile for the root organization when it's defined. All of the services available to the root organization will be available to child organizations as inherited resources. Versa supports 5 levels of organizations hierarchy. Each of these organizations can have a single instance of VPN or multiple instances of VPN running across locations. To create a new organization, go to the Versa Director login page and provide your credentials to log in. Navigate to the Administration tab. From the options on the left, select Organization. This is where the root organization is configured. Click on the plus icon to create a new organization, then provide the name of the organization in the name field. This example uses Provider as the name. The global organization ID will automatically be assigned. This is controlled by the system, and Versa strongly recommends letting the system control this value. From the subscription profile, select Default All Services Plan, which will give access to all of the services to the root organization. Optionally, you can add a CMS connector to any cloud infrastructure. To do so, click on the CMS Connectors tab. Then, from the available box, click on the connector that you want to select. In this case, I'm selecting AWS Connector. You can also assign an analytics cluster to the organization. To do so, click on the Analytics Cluster tab, then on the plus icon, and select an analytics cluster from the drop-down list. In order to do this, an analytics cluster must already be deployed in the environment. Next is adding new VPNs using the Routing Instance tab. Here, the administrator can add new VPNs for the same organization. As an example, you can add a corporate VRF VPN for the provider organization. And lastly, you can select supported user roles to enable role-based access control for the organization. Move from left to right all of the roles that you want to enable for this organization. After providing all of the inputs, click OK to create the organization. This organization is the root organization with the name provider, and you are now ready to set up the SD-WAN infrastructure through the SD-WAN workflows. Workflows Wizard and Templates. The SD-WAN Workflows Wizard simplifies Versa SD-WAN infrastructure deployment. It provides a guided approach towards onboarding controllers, deploying workflow templates, and deploying devices. To access the workflows, log into Versa Director and click on the Workflows tab. This is the starting point in your journey towards Versa-powered software-defined services. The first task is to onboard the controllers. SD-WAN controllers are the owners of the control plane, and SD-WAN solutions cannot be deployed without the controllers. To onboard a controller, click on Controllers under the Infrastructure tab on the left. This is the space where you see all of the onboarded controllers, or you can click on the plus icon to add a new controller. In the example, there are a few controllers onboarded already. Let's look at the configuration of an existing controller. We'll look at Controller Primary. Click on Controller Primary. Some key information to note here is that the controller is associated with organization parent org, and this controller can support staging and post-staging roles. Click on the Location Information tab. This tab provides information about the location of the controller. Next, click on Control Network tab. This tab provides information on how the controller will talk to Versa Director and Versa Analytics. Finally, click on WAN interfaces. In this tab, you provide WAN connection details for the controller. This enables WAN communication for this controller. After providing all of the information, click on the Deploy button. This will onboard the controller, and you can review the configuration and perform real-time monitoring of the controller from the Administration Appliances tab. Click on the Administration tab, and from the left, select the Appliances tab. Notice that the controller is present in the list, and by clicking on this controller, you can review the configuration and perform real-time monitoring. At this point, we've successfully onboarded the controller, and we're ready to go to the next step, creating a child organization or tenant. To create a tenant, navigate to the Workflows main tab, and on the left section, click on Organizations under Infrastructure. This is the space where you will see any sub-organizations that have been created. Create a tenant by clicking on the plus icon. Provide the name of the organization under the name field. In this example, we'll use the name Tenant. Next, the tenant is associated with its parent organization. We'll select the parent org organization from the parent field drop-down list. After you select the parent organization, all controllers associated with the parent organization will be visible. The tenant can inherit parent organization resources by moving the resources from the Available to the Selected section. To move resources from the Available to the Selected fields, click on the resource. In the example, clicking on the controller name on the left moves it to the tenant resources and assigns that controller to the control plane of the new tenant. If there are CMS connectors that you would like to assign as resources for the tenant organization, click on the CMS Connector tab to assign CMS connectors to the organization. This allows Versa Director to communicate with the AWS instance using the connector to initialize cloud branches for the tenant organization. Click on the CMS connector that you want to associate to the tenant organization. Next, click on Analytics Cluster and click on the plus icon to add an Analytics cluster from the drop-down menu. As with a parent organization, you can define various VPNs under the Routing Instances tab. This will result in the creation of another VPN. As an example, another VPN with the name Tenant Corp VRF is added to this tenant organization. You can define various role-based access control profiles through the Supported User Roles tab. Select the roles that you want to enable for the organization tenant. After reviewing your selections, click the Deploy icon to deploy the tenant organization and monitor the progress using the task menu. The new tenant is displayed in the Organizations window. After completing this step, You have the infrastructure ready, and now you can build your first template. Before you start creating your first workflows template, we'll discuss Versa Network's approach towards template-based SD-WAN configuration. Service templates can be service-specific templates, such as a next-generation firewall template, which will have general access policy rules, a cost template, which will have common class of service configurations, an application template, which will have common traffic steering rules, a service chain template, which will have details of UCPE service chaining with third-party VNFs, or a common template, which may include some other networking service customizations which are standard across the overall SD-WAN deployment. One or more of these service-specific templates can be applied to a site template. Site templates are general templates based on high-level design requirements, such as the number and physical location of WAN or LAN interfaces, routing protocols on a device, etc. Devices will be onboarded using these site templates, which will also apply the service template configurations. In this example, all the service templates are mapped to the site templates Type 1 and Type 2. The Type 1 template is used to onboard one set of devices represented by the color green. The Type 2 template is used to onboard another set of devices represented by the color orange. The advantage of this architecture is that organization-level changes can be applied with the component templates, and site-level changes can be applied through the site template. By using the Versa Workflow Wizard, you can manage groups of devices through templates, and you don't have to manage individual devices. SD-WAN Post-Staging Template. Return to the Versa Director Workflows tab, then navigate to Template, Templates. In this pane, all of the configured workflow templates are displayed. To create a new workflow template, click on the plus icon. The Basic tab is the first tab of the template creation workflow. In this tab, you provide the name of the template, you associate the template to an organization from the drop-down list, and you select the device type. The device type refers to the deployment topology of the overlay network and the role of the devices that will use this template in that topology. Should you wish to enable multi-tenancy for the template, select the child organization from the suborganization drop-down list. Then select the child organization by clicking the plus button in the suborganizations field. Select the controllers, the analytics cluster, the subscription tier and bandwidth, and lastly, the preferred software version if automatic software update is desired for each branch that is added to the SD-WAN. The next step is to define the interface assignments for the devices that use this template. Click on the Interfaces tab. In the Interfaces tab, a logical representation of the branch device is shown. This is where you provide WAN and LAN interface details, assign transport domains to the WAN interfaces, IP allocation, VPN, zones, etc. In a multi-tenant environment, different ports can be associated with unique tenants by selecting the organization and routing instance for that port. In the Routing tab, you can enable static or dynamic routing for the LAN or WAN interfaces. For example, if you want to configure BGP routing over the MPLS WAN transport, select the MPLS transport from the network list, define the local AS, neighbor IP address, and peer AS. When a device is deployed with this template, the BGP configuration will automatically be created by Versa Director and applied to the device. The next tab is Split Tunnels. This section provides a simplified approach to enabling direct internet access. To enable DIA, select the LAN VR for which you want to enable direct access to the transport. Then select the WAN interface that is connected to that transport. Click on the plus icon after making your selection to add the configuration settings. Traffic that is not destined to an SD-WAN reachable IP address will be forwarded natively over the selected transport network with interface NAT applied. Inbound NAT is for destination NAT configuration. The Services tab is used to enable DHCP server services and DHCP relay services. You can also associate service templates with the site template for higher scalability and seamless designs. In the Management Servers section, you can add information about various management servers, such as NTP, TACACS, SNMP, etc. After providing this information, click on the Create icon, which creates the Workflows template. The final step before we can onboard our appliance as an SD-WAN branch is to define the individual device in the workflows. From the Versa Director Workflows tab, select Devices from the left menu. This is where you'll see Defined Devices and where you define New Devices. To create a new device, click on the plus icon. Provide the name of the device, the serial number, the organization, and the device group. The device group assignment is how the template is associated with the device. All devices within a device group are associated with the same template. Click on the Next icon or go to the next tab. The location information is where you provide location details of the SD-WAN branch. The country field is required, but other more detailed information can also be entered. The last step is to define device-specific information, called bind data. All of the device-specific information will be provided here. The available form fields depend on the workflows template that's associated with the device. Information such as the device local IP addresses for each interface are defined here. In the example, the IP address fields in the form are available because the device template defines these values as static fields. If the interfaces were defined as DHCP-based IP addresses, the form would exclude those interfaces from the form, as the IP addresses for those interfaces would automatically be assigned by the DHCP server and not the user. After providing this information, click on Deploy to create the appliance. Click on Task Manager to review the status of the device. If the device is created successfully, you can review the state of the device from the Versa Director. Next, click on the Administration tab. From the left menu, navigate to Inventory Hardware. Note that all of the devices that have been created will be visible and we can review their status. The device will be in either the shipped status or the claimed status. The shipped status indicates that the device configuration is ready, but the device associated with the configuration has not yet claimed the configuration, which means the device is not onboarded yet. The claimed state indicates the device onboarding has been attempted and the device claimed the configuration from Versa Director. This is the end of Session 8 of Versa Essentials. Welcome to Module 9 of the